Welcome back, my friends, to Master Your Glass. I'm super excited about the conversation I'm going to have today because to my left and to your right is my dear friend and paisano, Giuseppe Gallo. Giuseppe to me is a super fascinating person because just of what he brings to the table and the products he creates and the passion that he puts into them. Giuseppe, it's good to have you here.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me, Livio.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So one of the reasons why I feel like what you do is super in line with what I agree with 100% is that we believe that beverages are more than just drinks. We believe that beverages are rooted in a tradition and they're ingrained in the culture and in the people, with the people that make them, right? And so when you're drinking a bottle of, I don't know, an old bottle of mezcal, sometimes you're drinking a family, or you're drinking a family and the traditions of those families. And the products that you put together, they do the same thing. So if you wouldn't mind, can you walk us maybe just through whether you want to do it historically from 1, 2, 3, or whatever you prefer. Can you tell me a little bit the thought process between each one of these products, please?
My aim and the goal in my life has been always like a learning from the past, enjoy the present, and build your future. And that's what we did with our brand. So we started with the first one, which is ITALICUS, Rosolio de Bergamotto. It was launched in 2016. And back then you will find lots of liqueur or cordial in the market, which they were kind of a little bit not natural and with some fancy flavor profile. So I thought, what about we're going to create something which is 100% natural, and we're going to rediscover a category and a recipe from the last century. So we went to discover an old recipe of Rosolio from Turin, from 1898, from the liquorista pratico Luigi Sala, and I took that one as a base. And I added some Bergamotto citrus orange from the Calabria region. For Calabria, for somebody who is not familiar with, Italy is like a boots. So it's literally like, the lower part of the boots, where this a grapefruit DOCG approved, top quality is coming from an UNESCO protected region.
Beautiful.
And we bring back this category, which is the Rosolio, which used to be basically the drink of the king in Italy on the 15 and 1600. And that's what the first king of Italy was drinking back in the days, before vermouth, bitter, Amaro were even existing. And moreover, we added the bergamot citrus flavor profile, which brings its unusual twist. So you can use in different cocktails, and you can enjoy a bergamot in a cocktail bar, which was not available before Italicus. And not even in a year, you win Best Product of the Year at Tales of the Cocktail. It made us so proud, and today is available in 45 markets across the world.
Wow, wow. Just a sidebar for all of you out there. You've seen other episodes where we've done one where we talk about how you make a product that wins so many awards. That example came from the Cierto Tequila, which won 850 awards. And what was the outcome of that video was to win it, obviously you have to use fresh ingredients and you have to use the best that's available, but there's a passion behind it. And that explanation that Giuseppe just gave me, I could see his eyes sparkle just while he's explaining it. Passion, passion, passion. Giuseppe, so you mentioned Rosolio was what the kings were drinking. What happened to Rosolio in the 1800s, 1900s? Why did you have to rediscover it? And thank you for doing that, by the way, because I know other brands removed the name Rosolio so it was almost like a name non grata, right? But you brought it back to the world, in essence. What happened?
In my previous job, I used to work for a vermouth brand in Italy, and every time I was doing some historic research, I was going to find Rosolio in all these historic cocktail books and recipe books. And at one point I asked myself, what happened to the Rosolio? And I started to go around to the University of Turin and Florence and Naples and ask, to find more data about it. And basically it was a very simple process. So the king of Italy was what today we would call the influencer, the trendsetters, right? So Rosolio was very trendy until the king he was drinking it. Then the king at some point, he dropped it off to drink more vermouth because it was an abundance of wine made in the Piemonte region, where Turin was the first capital of Italy, and he decided to drink vermouth as aperitivo di corte instead of Rosolio. So it just became not trendy any longer. So lots of Italian companies and producers, they decided to remove the Rosolio from their label and just call it liqueur. I'll give you an example. Back in the days, if we were making something with lemons, it would be Rosolio di Limone. Today we're calling limoncello. So, and so on and so forth. So every region, they will have their own flavor profile. So obviously on Amalfi Coast it was lemon. In Sicily was the Ciro fruits. In Sardinia was the Mirtillo. And in Piemonte it was done with roses. And then also the name Rosolio, which is coming from two Latin words of ros, olis, the morning dew. Because they were going to harvest botanicals early in the morning when the little morning dew will drop from the leaves.
It's interesting, very interesting. You got me thinking about something. Do you know Fulvio Piccinino?
Of course.
So Fulvio, I was talking to Fulvio, and he mentioned to me that back in the day, there was also a Rosolio al Ginepro, right? A juniper Rosolio. And when you really look at how it's made, it's nothing more than a Western style gin of today. So even though they were not calling it gin and it was not gin at the time, they were making something very similar to what is very trendy today, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
Keeping in mind that 100 years ago, there were not the law, the categories, all the legislation we need to go through today. So basically you could make anything and be a little bit more free in terms of naming and also how to drink it. It's also very interesting how today we can bring back those forgotten categories and actually giving new tools for consumers and for bartenders to play with the cocktails and with the mixology at home and in the bar.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's talk about these two beautiful ones, whatever order you wish.
Last thing about Italicus is inspired by the Roman column of Italy. So it reminds you Italy. And of course, because Livio and I, we're both from the region of the Amalfi Coast, you can see the color of the blue Amalfi Coast, the aquamarine. So everything reminds me my homeland. I'm from the south side of the Amalfi Coast and Livio is from the northern side of the Amalfi Coast, literally like 20 minutes driving one from another. And I took inspiration from one iconic sculpture or artist from Italy. So in this case, I thought, what is the common point between small village, north, south, or center of Italy? The Roman column. Wherever you're gonna go, we'll find it. And here we go with Italicus. Then the COVID came and I was at home, few days and few weeks and a few months, and I'm starting to go back to my old notebook and I find some interesting ideas. And I say, what about I'm starting to work on a new brand? So to develop a new recipe or something new to come to the market. And here we go, we got the first one, which is here, which is the SAVOIA Americano Rosso, which is a wine-based product. So I went back to my first love, the wine aperitif. In this case, the bottle, it's the shape of the Mole Antonelliana in Turin, which was the first ever black and white cinema allowing public to drink alcohol, so a glass of vermouth, before they were going to go and watch the movie.
Alla grande.
Opened in 1901 in Turin. In this case, like we went on wine base, so 86% of this bottle is wine, and we have two different types of wine coming from Italy. The first one is the Uni Blanc, which is from the center of Italy, and the second one, which is our very specific one, is a Marsala DOCG, 14 months aged in barrique cask. So it gives that nutty, nice, long aftertaste to the drink. We have a combination of bitterness with the sweetness of red vermouth. So basically we have two in one. And it's an Americano. Why an Americano? Because I discovered on the Vermouth di Torino book that a lots of producers in Piemonte, already at the beginning of the 19th centuries, they were making a very specific bitter style of vermouth only for the US market.
Wow.
Because in US they already had a tradition to mix vermouth. Back in the days, in Italy, they were drinking vermouth just on its own. Ice was not even available in Italy 120 years ago. So in America, there was already a tradition to drink vermouth mixed with other spirits, such as gin or whiskey, in a drink that Americans, they were called cocktail. That's how they spell it. Two different words. Like in Italy, nobody knew what cocktail was. So I went to find this one. It's like, what about we going to give back to US what actually we were making 120 years ago? So that's where we discovered this old recipe of Bitter di Milano from 1901. And then we added some twist in terms of wine, like the Marsala wine. So here, technically, we have a ready-to-serve cocktail. So you take your bottle, you put it over ice, you have your perfect Americano cocktail in your glass.
Nice, nice, very cool. So it's like a mission to restore something that was gone and to bring it back to America. It's such a beautiful concept, and it makes sense, right? To have the change of herbs for the American market, just to appease the American palate. So in this one here, you add gin, it becomes a Negroni, right?
Correct.
What are the other options that you would think would work for mixology? Even though, I mean, we tried it, and it tastes delicious on its own, but what are some mixology applications that you would see?
It was designed to be one step away for your perfect classic cocktail at home. So you're adding one splash of gin over ice and Savoia Rosso, you have your Negroni. You're adding a splash of bourbon whiskey, you have your Boulevardier. You're putting some rye, and then you have Manhattan. You're adding some Prosecco, you have your Sbagliaro. You're adding some orange juice, you have your Garibaldi. So it's a limitless the combination of cocktails you can make with Savoia Rosso.
I love it. I love it. And look at that packaging, and typically Giuseppe style, just beautiful.
Let me show a little trick.
Yes.
If you want to place behind your bar, then you're just turning around the bottle like that, you're turning around, and then you can read the whole label at the name
Clever.
Savoia. Savoia was the name of the king of Italy.
The king of Italy. Very nice. Beautiful.
This one was launched in 2021, September 2021. The alcohol by volume is 18.6. Like 1861, when Italy was founded as nation, as a country as we know today. So like, also the ABV, you need to reflect a piece of history coming from our home country.
Beautiful. See that thought behind everything. Okay, are you ready to talk about Orancio?
Absolutely. Like then, just 6 months ago. So this one is a brand new, not yet available in US. We're just waiting to start distribution. We have the pink style or the orange style. So in this case, like what we want to do, we want to rediscover the Silk Road of Marco Polo, who left very young Venice to go and travel to the east, and then 21 years later, come back to Italy and brought so many different spices and botanicals, such as saffron, such as ginger, orange wine, pomegranate, like all of those that were not available in Europe. And he brought back all these new spice and flavor profile. So here you have a citrus and spice version of the Savoia wine aperitif, but we're still using the Uni Blanc wine, but this time it's blended with orange wine.
Okay.
Orange wine is the first form of wine that a human being has ever created back in the days, over 1,000 years ago.
Wow. So the first wine was orange wine. And can you explain a little bit more what makes an orange wine an orange wine?
Absolutely. So an orange wine, back in the days, there were no techniques. So 1,000 years ago, you would just get any types of grapes, white or red, just squeeze that, leave everything to ferment. So it will take that little orange color. So basically making wine as used to be made. Nowadays, you squeeze the grapes, but you separate the juice, so the mosto, from the skin, but the color is coming from the skin. Like in the past, they were just leaving everything there to ferment. That one, it was the orange one. So we're using the ancestor of wine as it used to be made. And we're using a certified vegan organic wine, orange wine, coming from the center of Italy in this case.
Beautiful, beautiful.
The difference is the botanicals, so the flavor profile. In this case, the alcohol by volume is a 17.2 because Marco Polo left Venice to travel to the Asia around the 1272, 1274, obviously back then, a couple of years, we are not sure. Yeah. So in this case, we decided to have a 17.2 alcohol by volume. And the numbers of botanicals we use are 21 because it took 21 years to go to China and then go back to Italy.
Wow, wow, incredible, incredible. I'll just move on to this book. Thank you for gifting this to me. And you can see the story, right? When you see products like this, they look delicious, they taste delicious, but it doesn't happen by luck, right? It happens through passion. And in case somebody thought the passion wasn't there and it happened by luck, I just want to scroll through this and show all the incredible work and all the passion. And what I love about it is this is real. One thing that I was noticing yesterday when you gave it to me is real. This is real, right? In a picture that you would do of a manufactured product or marketing, when marketing takes over, every little dot on these bergamots would have been photoshopped out. That's not real. This is real, right? And so I just love everything that went through and how you blend the elegance with the craftsmanship, which is not easy, right? Farms are not sexy, right? Roots are not sexy. But the way you put this together it's just so romantic and so beautiful and so sexy. And thank you for this, by the way.
My pleasure for you, Livio. My pleasure.
Anything else you want to close with before we let it rip? What are your websites? How can people find your products? Anything like that?
The product, they're available here in US. You can buy it online on curiada.com. You can also order the book on our website. So it's italicus.com. Nice. Everything is available. And the last thing I want to add is how lucky we are. Yourself, myself, that we do this job. So we are the ambassador of Italy around the world. You in US, myself in Europe, like we know each other for many, many years. And we have the best and probably the easiest job in the world. The export the made in Italy brand all around the world.
That's true.
At the same level as you have Ferrari or you have a Ducati or you have Armani, we do it with the beverage world.
Exactly.
So we are absolutely blessed. And I want to thank you and all the Italian friends and all the partners community around the world for all the support throughout the years.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure.
I love you.
Grazie.
I love this guy. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, just go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you feel like there's somebody that really needs to hear this story, share it with them. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, you are out of your minds. You should do that today. And come back to Master Glass, where we talk about traditions and the drinks that are tied to them. Thanks for watching.